Okay, I inserted a little image here for demonstration purposes, visual purposes. What is the side length of the smallest square plate on which a 20 centimeter chopstick can fit along a diagonal without any overhang? Essentially what they're saying is they want the diagonal here to be 20 centimeters. Okay, they want the chopstick to sit right along there. They want the chopstick to be 20 centimeters long and no overhang. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to use the typical formula um, for the 45, 45, 90 right triangle. And I'm going to actually insert a little diagram. Okay, so there at the bottom left, you see the diagram. And as you can see, the diagonal we will set equal to x root 2 and then solve for x. That's going to be the standard method we're going to use. So we say 20 is equal to x square root of 2. And then we divide both sides by root 2 in order to, as you can see, cancel that out and just be left with x. X is equal to 20 root 2. Now, if you watched one of the earlier videos, you would have seen a little comment that I made about if you know the diagonal as a whole number, and it's a 45, 45, 90, you take that number, in this case 20, divide it by 2, 10, and then multiply it by root 2. Because we always, what we're looking for here is the length of this side, right? And this is, if we say that's 10 root 2, and you always take the leg length and you multiply that by root 2 to find the diagonal, the hypotenuse, then you will see that root 2 times root 2 is 2, and 2 times the 10 gives you your 20. So that's what it's going to be equal to, is 10 root 2. But let's show you the other way to get it, just so you're clear on the mathematics behind it. If you wanted to, we can say, okay, now we've got x is equal to 20 over root 2, and we always want to take anything with a radical in the denominator, and we call it rationalizing the denominator, okay? This root 2 is irrational. Right now, with this, the denominator is irrational, and we want to make it rational. So we multiply across, and we get 20 root 2 over root 2 times root 2 is 2. And as you can see for this part right here, 20 divided by 2 is 10. So you get 10 root 2. And that's what I just said here. The quick method for that is to take the whole number length of the hypotenuse in a 45, 45, 90, divide it by 2. So 20 divided by 2 is 10. And then multiply it by root 2. So 10 root 2. It needs to have a root 2 in it so that when you multiply the leg length by root 2 to get the hypotenuse, that cancels out. And it becomes a 2 multiplier, so you have to have 10, half of what it is. So that right there times the root 2 times root 2. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense to what I just said there. So let me erase all this. And oops. What you then get is 10 root 2 for that side length. Now, that's not quite the full answer, because even though we can write it as 10 root 2 is what x is equal to, they want to know what it is to the nearest tenth of an inch, or tenth of a centimeter rather. So what we really need to be doing is finding out what this is, and then multiplying it by 10. What that is, right? 10 times the square root of 2. Well, I can tell you that the square root of 2 is approximately equal to 1.414. Oops. 14. Okay, and if it's approximately equal to 1.414, then that times 10. Sorry, let me do that again. You can't see all those edits, but there you go, 1.414. And if we multiply that times 10, because this is what this says down here, it's 10 root 2. So we take the square root of 2, 1.414, multiply by 10, and that essentially just moves the decimal over, so we get 14.14. And that, rounded to the nearest tenth of a centimeter, means that it would be x would be approximately equal to 14 centimeters. So this length down here, this leg length, this side of the plate would be approximately 14 centimeters in length.